Welcome to 10 Seconds to Air. I'm Alita Guillen. My guest today has been using her voice to connect and entertain millions of people over the last 25 plus years. She's a singer, an announcer, and a podcaster. Lilian Garcia has spent most of her career as the in-ring announcer for the WWE. She's the first woman to announce WrestleMania, the first woman to become an in-ring announcer in all of combat sports. She holds the record for singing the most times at WrestleMania. She actually left the WWE in 2016 to care for her ailing father. Then she returned in 2024 and is now set to be the ring announcer for Saturday night's main event. She joins me now to talk about her career, her life out of the ring, becoming a worship leader, and the mindset to keep it all going.
Stand by. We're going live. We're going live. 10, 9, going live. 7, 6, 5, going live. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Lilian, so great to have you here.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You know, I love your energy. You bring it every time. You have it every time. It's that smile. It's everything that you bring. You've basically been on stage for life. So yeah. This question is kind of a funny question maybe for you because you do it so often. But what goes through your mind 10 seconds to air?
My heartbeat is going a mile a minute still to this day. And I'll never forget, I was at PFL. This is when I was announcing for MMA, and I was about to go live, and it was just so beating so hard that day that I go, why do I do this? Why do I put myself through this? But then you know what? When you go there and you kill it, you're on such a high that you go, that's why.
Yeah.
To prove to yourself what you're capable of, it's pretty cool.
And what are you hearing right before you get out there? I mean, that crowd is intense. So I can imagine if your heart's not beating, they're making it beat.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like the crowds at our events, whether it's WWE or what I experienced at PFL was amazing. We just have the best audiences, seriously. And they're so into it. And you can't wait. Like, I can't wait to be a part of it. And that's one of the big reasons I was so excited to come back, was to really reconnect with them. It's something that, you know, even The Rock talks about it when he's back and you see him in the turnbuckle and he's like smelling. Well, he's taking in the crowd because it's an energy that you just can't get anywhere else. It's awesome.
Yeah. So how did you even get started? What was that first day?
Oh my gosh. Are you ready for this story?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it is wild. It is wild. So at the time I was living in New York City, and I had a job, but I was also working with an agent who had me doing commercials and some voiceover work. And I was trying to get more and more. And then he called me for the audition. And at first when he said WWF, before it got, you know, the name got switched, I was like, oh, the World Wildlife one? He's like, no, World Wrestling Federation. I'm like, wait, what? Me and wrestling? I watched it as a kid with my dad. So I loved wrestling, but I couldn't see what I could be doing in it. And so immediately I'm like, but wait, I'm not a wrestler. He's like, no, it's got something to do with the broadcast team. So, you know, the best advice that I actually took that he gave was, he said, go to the audition. You never know. And so I went, and long story short, in that part, I got, you know, the job. They called me. They made it obvious too. I was literally praying, God, if it's meant to be, make it obvious. If it's not meant to be, make it obvious. Well, when they called, they said, we'd like to offer you for 2 to 3 months to try you out, and you could quit at any time. That was pretty obvious. Yeah. Right. So I had nothing to lose. So I go to Iowa. That was our very first show. If people don't know, WWE travels around. And so we were in Iowa that week. It was the day after SummerSlam, which is the second biggest WWE event, second to WrestleMania. And so it was a big deal that I was going to start. Now, I didn't know that I was going to start that day. I just show up. I'm given the orientation. I still haven't been told what my job is going to be. And so at 3:30 that afternoon is when they came up to me and they're like, congratulations, you're going to be our brand new ring announcer starting tonight in front of 14 million people.
Wow.
And you're actually going to be replacing the legend Howard Finkel, who's been doing this job for over 20 years. We know that you have zero training to do this job, but hey, welcome to the WWE.
What? Okay, so what's going through your mind then?
I, the first things out of my mouth, which I almost couldn't believe, I was like, okay, how do you do this job? And now looking back, I go, man, that was monumental. I asked how instead of, I can't do this. I can't go out there. So asking how was really big. And so I sat with the guy, Tony Chimmel sat with me an hour later at 4:30. There's a reason I'm telling you the timestamps because that was pretty big here. We were going live at 8:00 that night because we were Central Time. So we always go 9:00 Eastern Time. So it was 4:30. He sits with me. He tells me exactly what I'm supposed to say for every match. There was about 8 to 10 matches that night. You have to know the towns, the weights, what kind of matches there. Are there any rules? Is the wrestler holding a title? What kind of title? I mean, there's just a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So I was writing everything down as fast as possible. He tells me, all right, you got 45 minutes to get dressed. Okay, 45 minutes for a female to do hair, makeup, and wardrobe to go on TV. Okay, so I'm like, right.
And are you doing your own makeup? And did you
I sure did. I did my own. I brought my own outfit, everything. I'm trying to figure this out on my own. So then he's like, okay, I need you at ringside at 6:30. You're going to watch me do Sunday Night Heat, which was the show that was right before. It was taped right before Raw. That was 4 matches that he was doing. He goes, I need you to watch me do those 4 matches, and then you're going to go live at 8. So that was my training, watching him do 4 matches as I'm rewriting my cue cards because I can't read my chicken scratch from the afternoon. 20 minutes before we're going live, Mark Yaton, who's the timekeeper, who was sitting next to me, he sees me and he's like, you do know you can't use those cue cards up there, right?
Oh, no way.
And I'm like, you do know this is a bad time for a joke, right? He's like, no. The executive producer doesn't want this to look like boxing. You're not allowed to use the cue cards. And I'm like thinking to myself, how am I supposed to remember not only their names, because I'd fallen out of wrestling for a while, so I didn't even know the wrestlers' names, their names, their towns, their weights. Do they have a title? What title is it? Are there rules to the match? How? And I almost ran. I'm not going to lie to you. I looked at the exit sign. I'll never forget this. I looked at the exit sign and I'm like, everything in me was like, abort the mission. And I had a full-on panic attack for like 10 minutes. And then I remembered 2 instances that I got thrown in the swim team without knowing how to swim when I was 9 years old. And I got thrown into a radio station like not knowing how to function it, but I figured it out on both. And so quickly I was like, okay, what did I do in those circumstances? And I basically took from that and applied it to that night and just really just focused on match by match. And I don't know how I did it, but I got through it. I sounded horrible. I had no cadence, no nothing, but I got through it. I went home and I studied everything as much as I could and memorized all the towns and weights. And I improved so much from week 1 to week 2 that they kept giving me an opportunity. And here I am still 26 years later.
26 years later. Wow. And in the process of all that, I mean, you have done so much and you've also been singing. It's not like you were only, I mean, where are you finding all the time to do the time and the energy? I just keep going back to energy with you because you just have incredible energy. But where do you find that time and that energy to do so much? I mean, even just hearing you tell that story, I mean, you're inspiring me so much already. So I'm thrilled.
Awesome.
This is such a great conversation. I'm watching you. I'm like, my God, I need to do more. But where do you find that kind of time and energy to get all that done?
I think the number one thing I tell people in life is to do something that you're passionate about.
Right.
I love to sing. I love announcing. I love entertainment. I love doing podcasts like this. Like for me, this is fun. And so when you are in your flow and in your natural state of what you love to do, you will find the energy.
Yeah.
It will just ooze out of you because it's the most alive and the most in when you're in your being.
Yeah.
And for me personally, believe it or not, like I didn't even start drinking coffee till 2012. I just always had this natural high about me. And then I started drinking coffee and then I realized I wasn't feeling good. And so I recently just quit coffee. And I am vibrating on another level that I'm almost amazed. I feel like some people, I'm not going to say everybody, but I feel like some people are chasing the high with the coffee. And what they're doing is they're killing their adrenal glands. And that's what was happening with me. And so now I have more energy, more natural. And it took a minute. Like the first 2 days, I was like, oh my God, dragon. But it just takes a minute to get it out. But yeah, it's just being high on life and what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. You said that you didn't drink coffee until 2012. So did something happen in there where you said, okay.
Yeah, it's funny because I grew up in Spain, right? And Spain is like so much coffee, but I left Spain when I was 8. But anytime I had coffee, I felt like it made me jittery because I already have like this excitement for life. And, but 2012, I was hit as a pedestrian by a car. It was a lifeguard truck, actually. I got slammed I was down doing push-ups. He forgot that I was there because he was acknowledging me 1 minute and then forgetting that I was at the other when he went to get on his radio. The passenger side car tire hit me in the top of my head and it collapsed some of my vertebrae and all that. And the pain went all through my back. It was an excruciating 2 years. Thank goodness to Pilates on the reformer, I got my body back. But I just remember that it was at the time I was married, my ex started drinking coffee and I was in so much pain that I asked him for a couple sips one day and there was like this rush that came, obviously the caffeine. And so I guess because the medication they had me on for this was making me sluggish that I was chasing. I wasn't in my natural state. I was chasing that high. So I started drinking coffee. So then I got hooked. And so then I thought, okay, well, I just need to always just have coffee. And I actually liked it. But now I realize it was not doing good for my body.
Okay. Wait, can you go back to the accident? What happened? Where you were on the ground doing push-ups, like in training with the lifeguard or at a beach?
No, I was at the time, that's when Insanity, the video that everybody was doing Insanity from, I think it was Beachbody, had it out. And so I had my laptop and I was way by the water. And a lifeguard truck came to answer an emergency that they had. And then another lifeguard truck came and parked next to him. They dealt with their emergency. On their way back, they watched me work out. And I even waved to them. And then all of a sudden, they got in their cars. I went down. The next thing on the video was for me to go down to push-ups. And I'm going down to do push-ups. And then I felt this immense pain thing hit. He thought he hit a speed bump. So he kept going. My natural instinct, I didn't know what had happened, but my natural instinct, I say my angel, had me go to the right. And when I look up, I'm still underneath the truck and the truck is rolling over me. And luckily I had an angel that flagged him down that said, oh my gosh, stop. And so he stopped, he got out and he pulled me out and I was just like a rag doll and I was rushed to the hospital.
Wow.
And for 2 years, it was just the worst. I never knew what back pain was. And now I do. And I don't wish it on my worst enemy. It's horrible.
Yeah. What do you do? What do you do for the back pain or to, stay strong, keep your spine strong?
Well, what I did was I got because I had done physical therapy. I had done all of that. And when they told me about Pilates on the reformer, that works all the small muscles on your back. And so it helps to release from all these other muscles that are taking all the stress. And that just was amazing. And I still have, like right now, I have a trainer. I invest a lot in myself, whether it's my mental or my physical. I believe in investing in yourself. And when you ask like, how do I have the time or how do I have the energy or whatever, this is what I love to do. And I'm not just going to stay stagnant and stay like, oh, I know everything. I don't. Tom Brady had a coach all the way to the end.
Right.
Coaches make you better.
So did you have to take time off from work during that time?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I did. And it was all over TMZ when it happened because I was at WWE. I think I was gone for 3 months, I believe. And then I got back on the road, and I'll just never forget. Like we traveled on our own at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think they still do, like from town to town. Now there's the schedules. You don't really travel from town to town anymore, which is so great. But we used to travel from town to town, 200 or 300 miles in between shows. And so for 7 years, I traveled with Trish Stratus. And then when she left, I ended up basically traveling on my own because I was the one that was always at the end. Everybody else left. So I had to stay at the end to host. And I just remember being in the car and I just could not get comfortable.
Yeah.
And like tears streaming down my face as I'm trying to drive 200 and 300 miles to the next town. But somehow you make it. Mm-hmm. And there were times that I had to pull over, like at a CVS parking lot or whatever, and just lay back and just cry it out and then get back and then try to keep going.
Yeah.
So it was painful.
It seems like you have had, you've done a lot. There's a lot that's gone on. You had some injuries. That wasn't your only injury, right? There are some other injuries that
I tore my ACL skiing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So you've had, there's a lot. And then you talk about jumping into the ring without even having had the experience and pulling from other places. So there is like this inner strength that I see that you have. And a mindset, where does that inner strength and mindset come from?
So I think back to when I was a kid. It's funny because I had my communion when I was 7. And I look at those pictures of me and I had a strong relationship with God. I just felt that as a kid. Even when I see the photos, I can feel myself at 7 and this like attachment and love that I had for that. And I think it's just, I know that there's something keeping me alive because even as a little kid, I'll never forget, we were in the car and Mom looked back and she always kept an eye on my sister and I. We were always in the back seat. She always would turn. One day she said she turned and my face was blue. And do you remember Cracker Jacks when they had the little games inside the box?
Right. Those little paper things or the games. Yeah.
And yeah, luckily, now they have the stickers or stuff, but they used to have the little toys. Well, I put the toy in my mouth and I choked on it and I couldn't get my breath. And so when she looked at me, I was literally choking to death. Mm-hmm. And we were in the middle of Madrid and we were in the middle of the big Las Cibeles fountain, which is the main fountain right in the middle of Madrid. And Mom tells my dad, stop, starts screaming, saying Lilian is choking. My dad stops right there because you can't pull over. There's no side, nothing. You're like in the roundabout. He pulls over. All the cars are honking, right? He gets me out. I remember him like turning me upside down, shaking me and couldn't get it out. This is before the Heimlich maneuver was like a thing that you knew about. And his only instinct was to reach in. And it's like, I feel like it was yesterday. Like he reached in and just grabbed the toy. And I spit up blood because it tore my throat, but it was right here. But he saved my life. And I just think about like that being hit, like a car came and hit me right, like head on the highway. The guy literally went the wrong side on the highway. He was drunk. My sister and I were in the car and boom, he hit me head on. I think about all of these things that I've been able to overcome that I go, oh, I'm here for a reason. And this is bigger than me. And so now I think when you ask about that and what happened to me by the end of 21, where I lost my parents and I lost my marriage and I was so distraught, and a girl invited me to church with her, non-denominational. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. And I had kind of stepped away from faith. I always believed in God, but stepped away from it. And when I went back and I just fully surrendered, at that point, I was a shell of myself and I surrendered. There is something that happened that I can't explain it. And it's why I've become a worship leader. And it's why I do what I do now. I've been going to House of Charity, which is a house that they house these women that have been dealing with human trafficking or domestic violence or, these really hard issues. And I visit with them and I go and minister and help with kids or the military. I'm very big on the military. My dad was a lieutenant colonel. So I was born on a military base.
Yeah.
I grew up with soldiers all around me. So I go and help them. I just spoke at one last week where they help transition the veterans from trying to get them, from their military life as to going back into civilian life and what they do and their purpose, and very passionate about it. So I think that all of these things that have happened to me are leading me to be able to be in a position to share and have immense empathy for people and to help in some way. Like that's the best way I could put it.
And so now as a worship leader, you feel like you're giving back, you're doing more, giving back. And so talk even more about that. What does it mean to be a worship leader? How does that unfold?
Well, when I went to that church, I'd never been into a non-denominational church. I grew up Catholic. And so I didn't quite understand what non-denominational, but she's just like, it just means that any denomination can come in here and it's like, we just, worship Jesus. And I was like, oh, well, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
So I walk in and the band starts playing, and now the band is like a rock band, and they're playing for like 20, 25 minutes before the sermon. And like, this is very different from Catholic church.
Yeah.
So I had not
Yeah.
experienced this. Plus, this isn't like your church with the steeple. This is in an arena. It was massive. Thousands of people were in there. And I'm like, am I at church or am I at a rock concert?
Yeah.
It was. But by the end of that service, I was so moved and so in tears. And it was amazing that I said, I got to come back next week. So I went back the next week, and it was at that service that I thought I could feel Jesus coming through. I know it's going to sound crazy, but until you experience stuff like this, it's wild. But it's like, I need you up there. Is all I kept hearing. I need you up there. So I immediately went and asked, hey, do you guys need a singer? I'm a singer. And this is very moving, and something's calling me to do it. And they scheduled an audition the next week. Boom, I got in, and I started serving 3 weekends out of the month at Mariners. This was in California when I lived there. And then when I moved to South Carolina to handle my parents' house because they had passed, I found a church there to serve. And now that I'm living in Atlanta, I found a church here. And so I just sing, and these songs are so powerful. And I see people in just tears, and they're bringing all of their worries and their fears and all of that, and just releasing it to God. And the transformation has been incredible.
Yeah. And how are you managing that with now you're back with WWE, and that's how is that working out?
Well, when I first got to WWE, so I came back last October, so I was announcing from Raw, and I knew right off the top, they had said, we want you to come back. At the get-go, we're going to have you be a part of this every single week. You're going to be doing Raw until January, then you'll pass it along to Alicia and get her ready for that, and then you're going to help Mark get in there for SmackDown. So I covered SmackDown. I helped then Mark get in there for SmackDown, and then they're like, we're going to have you do Saturday night's main events, and which is on NBC, which that's next week. And then we're going to have you do some other shows as well. They've got, oh my gosh, WWE's exploding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bigger now than ever. So they have so many shows, and in Spanish as well. And so it's really great that I am being put into, I told them, I said, whatever you need, like I'm here to serve. That's the thing, is being a worship leader and being more into that, your lingo is more about not what I can get out of things, but where do you need me? Right? I'll do whatever you need as far as how in the best place that I can serve. And that has released a lot of pressure off of me and has made the schedule work. When you have a heart of serving, of not like, again, what can I get out of this?
Yeah.
But what can I do for you? It's almost like what RFK had said, right? Don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Like, that's exactly the mindset that I have now. And I have everything is just in a flow. I enjoy everything so much. And I love that when I'm asked to do something, I know it's because I'm needed in that position and it feels great.
Yeah. Wow. That is just such a great mindset to have, a great approach. How can I serve?
How can I serve?
Yeah. It's really just a shift of attitude and mindset. And if you come at it with how can I serve, the reward is so deep. And it's not just about
amazing.
you. It's about me, it's about you, it's about the community, it's about everyone.
It's not about Lil wins and everybody else loses. So, it's how can I create a win-win?
Yeah.
So sure, you don't need me for this, but you need me for that. Great. And when you approach it like that, it's amazing how the schedule just fits.
Right.
That I haven't lost anything. I just keep gaining. And the time that I've also had free, I appreciate it. And I'm very relaxed about it. I'm not in this like anxiety of, oh, I'm going to lose this or they're not needing me here. No, it's fine. This is my time to enjoy also, whether it's with my friends, my dog, myself.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of inner work and not scared to be alone anymore either.
Yeah. Were you scared to be alone at one time?
Yes. When I got divorced, it was tough. I'm not going to lie. Like I had been married for so long and just always lived with someone. This is the first time I've ever been living by myself. It's been 3.5 years now since my divorce. And at first I'm like, how do you do this? Because I live with my parents, I live with my sister, I live with roommates, I got married, so living by myself, I'll never forget, like it was torture at first. I was like, I'm lonely. I don't know how to do this. I don't feel loved, but it was the most amazing gift. It has been absolutely incredible. I spend my mornings, I watch the War Room movie, and I created a prayer closet. In the mornings, I spend my time in there. And let me tell you, it centers my day.
Right.
It's just the way you start your morning really is magical and can center your day. And just from that, everything else has just lined up. And now I'm putting myself out there in the dating world. I'm finally ready.
Are you an apps?
Finally ready.
Are you an apps girl or just word of mouth?
Okay. So how funny is this? So I did an app for the, after year 1, I did an app. I lasted 3 weeks. I was like, no way, get me out of this.
Why? What happened? I'm married and but I have friends that are on the apps and they have all different experiences.
Just rough.
No,
it was rough. It was
well,
rough.
You're quite a catch. I would imagine that.
It was rough. So I could tell mentally I wasn't ready.
Yeah. And
so I got off of that quick. And then about another year went by. So year 2, I got on a different app. I lasted, and it was my friend who's like, get on an app. And I'm like, nope, not doing it again. She's like, you say you're adventurous. Just get on the app. So I was like, oh, you're daring me.
Right.
Okay. So then I started sending her like what the algorithm was matching me with. And I'm thinking, no, wait, it literally is because that's all they had, know? And so I started sending her these profiles and she's like, get off.
Wrong
now.
app.
So I did. So look, I literally just signed up this past weekend.
Oh.
But I've approached it. Now this is year 3.5, right? I'm approaching it very different. I'm approaching it more as an adventure, fun, like back to, hey, just see.
Yeah.
It's almost like what that agent said. Hey, go to the audition. You never know. Right. My mindset is in a different place than it was year 1, year 2. I'm completely different.
Right.
So I know that I'm ready now.
Yeah.
And so
we'll see. To be continued.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
We'll see what happens. So through all of these years, all the progression, all the growth, incredible growth, from the beginning kind of to the end, you're a woman in this very, I don't even know what kind of world to call it. We'll just say the WWE.
Male-dominated industry.
Male-dominated, and not just male. We're talking like male, with like, flexing male kind of look.
They're big teddy bears, though.
They're
Don't
big teddy bears.
You.
Which brings me to that, which you've talked about many times, but brings me to that interview with The Rock, where the famous interview.
Which would never fly these days. That would never.
What year was that?
I would think that that's either 2000 or 2001.
Okay, 2000. For people who have not seen it, you're interviewing him and it's very playful. And he kind of takes over the interview and accuses you of like wanting him, dreaming about him. I mean, really. And he goes deeper and deeper every time where you say, he's not going to say that. Oh, yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Oh, yes, he did. So was that, and then he takes the mic from you. Then he takes the mic from you, and you're the whole time, you're very like, what? No, it was very cute. How much of that was rehearsed, and how much of that did you know? Is it word for word? What was it?
It's funny. But no, at that time, things were like, they were like bullet points. Like, here's the idea.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of flowed with it. But they said, all I remember them saying to me is, at first, you're like very Barbara Walters reporter, which is why he says, what are you, Barbara Walters?
Right.
He's like, you're going to be all Barbara Walters. And then he's going to work on you, right? And then all of a sudden, your whole demeanor is going to be like, finally, because he goes, what is it? You're dreaming about The Rock or something, right? And then I just finally came in, more than anything, Rock. Yeah. And the reason that interview came about, we had done some other interviews leading up to that. And there was just something about, he could make me blush so easily.
I would imagine.
So easily.
Yeah.
Even thinking about it, it makes me blush. So when they picked up on that, they're like, oh, we like this. Okay, so we're going to have fun with this. So that's why they started working that. And then that was the big interview, man. People still talk about that interview.
Right.
Yeah, it was funny.
Right. I mean, definitely would not fly today. No.
But it's funny because I look back and I go, there was such innocence and just fun and playing or whatever. And it's funny how people have become so, touchy about everything.
Yeah. Careful, guarded. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So and you're in this world where that really, I mean, how does that even work? And what has that, do you see it now? Like we say that interview wouldn't have happened. Are there other things that kind of you notice don't happen in that world anymore that used to happen?
Well, I mean, they used to do the bikini contest and stuff like that for the girls and all. And that, I do love the fact, look, there was a time for it, right? There's a time. But I do love that the women have been able to evolve and be able to show their athleticism like they're showing. At times, their matches are even better than the men. I'm sorry, but even the men will admit that. Even the men superstars will admit that. The match at WrestleMania between Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair blew my mind, blew so many people's mind. It was just, it was... Oh my gosh. I mean, to think about, there were times that I was the only female to be out there the entire night. Yeah. There'd be no women that were booked on the show. And I'd remember looking around with all these males that are in the audience and going, wow, not one female besides me is coming out here. And I almost felt sorry for them because the women are so beautiful, right? Yeah. But now to see how they're headlining WrestleMania, they're headlining different, events and just the athleticism. And just the costumes. Right. Man, they not only look amazing in the ring, they look amazing put together. It's incredible.
Yeah. So what was that like being the only woman? I mean, I know you say, I'm sorry that they're missing out on that, but can be intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, thank goodness I got along with the women in the locker room, but they were, I could see them. They were frustrated. They were frustrated that they were, if they did get a match, they'd get 2 or 3 minutes or 4. They'd get out there and go, okay, you got to go home now. Yeah. Like, wait, we just worked on a 4-minute match. What?
Right.
But I mean, things have evolved, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm grateful to the men. Like The Rock was one of the first to befriend me. Stone Cold, Mark Henry, Mick Foley. I really created some incredible relationships. Batista, Dave Batista was another one. Kurt Angle, like these people that, throughout the years, anytime I see them, I've sometimes seen them in the airport, and we're like brothers and sister. We see each other. We're like, oh my God, family. And it was really incredible. They embraced me. They embraced me in a way because they saw that I was really trying. Yeah. I think that's the main thing when you go into a job. make sure you give it your all. Make sure you're really invested. Make sure that you put attention. They saw how I went home and was like memorizing everything and, learning everything a lot quicker and putting the effort. And so I earned their respect.
Yeah.
And when you earn people's respect, that's where kindness comes in.
Right. And it is the WWE. A lot of people don't know that E is for entertainment.
Yeah.
How did you feel your role was in that entertainment piece? Because you sort of play the, we won't say Barbara Walters, but you play the ringmaster, and you've got all these guys, mainly some women, that are definitely entertaining. There's a lot of fun. We know that they're entertaining, but we don't look at you and think that. Did you see yourself as an entertainer?
Yeah, because it's still part of the show. Mm-hmm. So like The Greatest Showman, for example, you saw that and Hugh Jackman, when he played that role, like you see, he's like the presenter and he's like putting it all together. He's the host. I see a host is definitely part of entertainment. And so I've always seen myself as that. Like I go out there and a lot of times you didn't see the things that I would do during the commercial breaks. Obviously the audience that's there live can see it, but I'm the first one to go out there. I was first one to greet the crowd, to pump them up, to let them know what's happening, to get them all excited. I keep them fired up during the commercial breaks. We do different activities during the commercial breaks, and then obviously when I get to sing within the show, I opened up the show with the national anthem for many years. In fact, we were trying to see if I could get in the Guinness Book of World Records. But unfortunately, we didn't have all those events logged in the way they needed them logged in. So we couldn't do it. But yeah, it just shows you, like, I was able to incorporate singing, my love of entertaining and all within this. So, and I got thrown into a lot of storylines, a lot of storylines.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So you did see yourself as an entertainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Okay. And the national anthem, you had your own style for the national anthem. What were you always trying to achieve? Or were you doing different things at different times, but you definitely put a stamp on your national anthem?
Yeah, when I got asked to start doing the national anthem, I remember when I was rehearsing it, the thing that really stuck out to me is that part where it says, "And our flag was still there." I'm thinking, why are we going down in that part? Why was that written like that? Mm-hmm. Like for me, that's a statement. Our flag was still there.
Yeah,
right.
It's
so
up
I was
high.
Like,
it's up.
I'm going to go high.
Yeah.
I'm going to, and so I started holding it out and going high and holding it out. And the crowd was just like really, really affected by it. Well, little did I know, it's wild because I got to sing it. My very first WrestleMania was 2000, the year 2000. And then I sang it at every single event right before we went on the air. And then 9/11 hits. Of course, we know that's 2001. We were supposed to tape that night. When a 9/11 hit, obviously Vince is like, okay, we're not taping, but nobody can go home. We got to figure out what we're going to do because the show was going to air on Thursday. And of course, 9/11 happened on Tuesday. So we stuck around for 2 days and we found out, well, he came to me the very next day and he said, what we're going to do is we're going to go live. Everybody else was canceling. NFL canceled, NBA canceled, everybody. He goes, we're not canceling. We're going to do a tribute show. We're going to go live on SmackDown. And Lilian, I want you to open us up with our national anthem. I was like, okay. Of course, I wanted to do it. I'm an Army brat. Like my dad, I could hear him step into the mission. But I was terrified. And I was also very emotional because I lived in New York City at the time. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of people. I had somebody that was actually was supposed to be in the building and arrived late. And it was just really horrific. But he asked me and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And luckily The Rock encouraged me. Paul Heyman encouraged me. And they saw my nerves, right? And so they were like, you got this. You've been singing this for a year now. I mean, think about that. That's why I always feel like I have God's hand on all of this, because for an entire year, it's like I was getting trained for that moment. And so I'm standing in the middle of the ring. All the superstars are lined up. And it's so emotional with all the people in the arena holding up their signs and just needing a moment to come together. And I sing it. And when I held that high part, our flag was still there. Oh, and you can Google this. You can find it. It is chills. It still gives me chills. And I almost broke at the end. You could hear my voice, like, because I was getting so emotional. And then finally I finished, and then I just let it all out. And it was something I will never forget. And just as an Army brat, it's meant so much to be able to sing our national anthem and then go on to sing it at NFL games and NBA games and all over. And it's just been really special.
And do you keep that? Do you always go up at that point?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I always do. And it's funny how now so many other singers have started doing the same thing.
Oh, that's good. See, you are giving again. You are serving.
I take it as a compliment. I take it as a compliment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I can't even, I'm going to say like, what's next for you? But it just seems like you're so, you don't even need to look there. You're so in the moment right now. But I'll throw it out. Is there something that, you're not telling us about that is next?
Well, I want to continue with my worship singing for sure. I mean, obviously with WWE, this is amazing what's happening. I also love speaking. So like I spoke at that military camp last week. I love speaking women empowerment. I love speaking at churches, talking about when I had my life at WWE and I was looking for validation from the people and from the fans and from my coworkers and not from God, and how empty I was feeling, because there were some years that I was very, very empty. And so I love sharing my story with different people with that, and even businesses. So I love speaking. And then, the worship leading, it's just been so impactful. So it's just using my voice in whatever capacity I can. Right. I go, God, just put me in places that I can serve. Yeah.
So if there was a woman out there that was thinking about kind of following your footsteps, that you're a role model, what advice would you give? What do you tell her?
Be yourself. Don't try to copy anybody. Like even ring announcing, there's been other ring announcers that have come and they've asked me, what advice would you give? And I'm like, don't try to sound like me. If another female is in there. And I love like Alicia Taylor. She's got her own style, which is great. And then Mark Chinook, you hear him and you go, oh yeah, that's Mark. And so I think it's just important for people to get their own style. And do something you're passionate about. Don't do something because you think it's going to get you fame or it's going to get you money. Because trust me, if you go after those two things, number one, you're probably not going to succeed, because that's not the driving force that's going to make you successful a lot of times. And if you do succeed, you're not going to be happy. Right. So do something that you're very, very passionate about, and then put your all to it. Just put your all. Robin Sharma, I went to a convention. He wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Great book. And I went to his convention, and he told me something that in the entire 3 or 4 days of his convention, this is what really stuck out to me. He said, it's easier now than ever to get ahead in the world. And I'm thinking to myself, how is that possible with 8 billion people in the world? And he said, because if you're trustworthy, you're dependable, you're on time, you're a team player, you go above and beyond, you will always have a job, and you're going to stick out above the rest, because so many people are not on time. They're not team players. They don't want to go above and beyond. There's so many things. They don't have a good attitude, right? That you will stick out. And when you stick out, you will always have a position. And so that stayed with me. And that's just something that I've always tried to do. Again, is serving, but also with a great attitude, and just working to help you go above and beyond. Be on time. That's something. I can't be 1 second late. It's on air.
Right. That's right.
And I learned that too with being on time. I think it's very important, because when you're late, you're telling the other person that's waiting for you that you're more important than they are. Yeah. And so it's a show of respect when you're on time.
Okay. Coming full circle now, for people who don't like to get up on stage, have to give a speech, perform in some way, speak in front of a group, give a presentation at work. What little piece of advice can you give them that they can hold on to right now?
Okay. Know that, first of all, the crowd wants to see you succeed. They are actually on your side. The reason that they're already automatically on your side is because they want to get something out of your speech. They want to enjoy what you're doing, right? So if you go up there very awkward and whatever, it makes them feel uncomfortable. And now they're like, oh gosh, I got nothing out of this. But if you can know that you have all of them cheering for you and use that as support and get excited about your message, just have a clear message that you can be very, very excited about so that you can step up there with the attitude of, oh my gosh, I can't wait to share this because you guys are going to be changed by what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
And it's your way. Remember, it's your way of serving. So if you get excited that you're serving them with whatever, you've learned this, right? You've picked up this, whatever you're about to share. So you're just doing a sharing of something that you picked up along the way. And just like you get excited to tell a story that you heard that you absolutely love,
yeah,
the same thing. Whatever you're going to share, just be excited about it and know that they're cheering you on.
Okay, I love that. That I can get behind. Anything
Awesome.
I did not ask you that you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I really appreciate your time. I think it's great what you're doing. I have watched your show. I think it's great.
Oh, thank you.
So I love you've got an authenticity about you, which is beautiful and it resonates with people. So
thanks.
it's great what you're doing because you know you're passing things along. You're learning. You're being you're serving.
Yeah.
You're serving. So it's awesome. So keep doing that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'd love a shout out from you. I'll just ask. It would be awesome when this is ready to go live. You know, I just feel like I'm a real curious person. So when I find somebody that I want to share, like you and your story, there's so much noise and other stuff. I just feel like if I can find some really interesting stories and really interesting information to share with people, then I can curate that and they know where to come and then they know what they're going to get. They're going to get a good authentic conversation that's going to go a little deep and maybe it'll take a little piece of something, you know?
And that's the thing is that you can see that in what you're doing. See, you're coming from passion. I can instantly hear it. This conversation was so easy to have with you because you're a great listener and you're asking some beautiful questions and you're very interested. And so that makes me feel excited to share with you.
Oh,
so
well, good. Yeah. All right. I'm glad.
That's awesome.
I'm glad you felt that because that is true.
Absolutely.
That is my truth. Lilian, thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.